Once upon a time in India, there was a wealthy merchant traveling across the land as he had been accustomed to doing for many, many lifetimes on a buying trip. He purchased the finest of silks, fabrics, and then resold them for quite a profit. On the last week of his trip, sitting in a roadside cafe as he had been accustomed to doing, he was approached by a very young and strapping young man who invited himself to sit with the merchant. He needed a job. He was unemployed, and the merchant, old and fragile as he was, needed help. So the match was made, and the young lad began as his assistant, as his valet for the last week of the journey. Every night they would stop at a different roadside inn and have dinner, and after a few minutes the young lad would excuse himself, apparently to the bathroom or for some errand. He would go, but he wouldn't go to the bathroom. He wouldn't go on some errand. He would go to the merchant's room, to his bedroom, and lock himself into the room and search for the man's fortune. He looked everywhere. He looked high and low. He looked under the pillow. He looked under the mattress, under the bed, in the closets, but he couldn't find a penny. This went on for a week. On the last day of the journey, racked with confusion, doubt, guilt, and curiosity, he finally confessed to the merchant. "Oh, sir," he said, I must confess, every night I have been ransacking your room looking for the fortune of yours, and I could not find a penny. This is the last day of our journey, and now I beg you to tell me, please first forgive me, and secondly, please endure my confusion and tell me where you hid your fortune. I am so confused." The merchant smiled, he paused, and looked at the young lad and said, "I knew from the moment I met you that you were a thief. That was obvious. So I hid my money in the only place I knew you wouldn't look. I hid my fortune under your pillow." This, quite metaphorically, is what storytelling is all about. The ability to translate a message in a form that communicates value in a very short amount of time. The fortune is the fortune that we all have, that which is precious, that which is our inner wealth, you might say. And story is the vehicle for the transmission or the communication of this inner wealth. But most of the time, most of us are not telling our stories. We're keeping them to ourselves. So why story is important? It is a way to communicate that which is hidden. That which was hidden under the pillow was the merchant's fortune. That which is hidden within us is our own wisdom, is our own insight. But it's buried, and it's buried under the pillow of story. So part of my work and part of your work, and actually anybody who's trying to uplift or elevate the conversation, is to encourage people, whether they work in a company or they're freelancers or wherever they happen to show up, is to share their stories, share their wisdom, the wisdom that's hiding in their story. And as that wisdom is shared, great meaning is communicated, great value is shared, and the elevation of wisdom begins.